what do? Do they make a Xbox-y kind of play for being a media center? That's really not their forte. I think if they tried that, I think they would fail. Do they, you know, do they sort of scale everything back and make like an explicitly budget-priced console or something like that? Like I said, I think if they tried the same problem with transitioning the Wii U into such a device, I think making a device like that is just not a big smart play for improving their reputation and their sort of legitimacy to developers and to consumers. So I have a friend who was just telling me that he thinks what they're going to do is they're basically going to abandon home consoles per se, and they're going to essentially collapse that into their handheld market, right? So it's like the new 3DS model, whatever that is, will have like an HDMI port, so you can plug it into your TV if you want, and that might happen. So to me, like that kind of makes sense as a potential direction. Personally, though, I would be a little disappointed, and I also feel like hard for me to see how that could really make Nintendo much money. Because right now, they are selling 2 SKUs, and I have to believe that most of their fans bought them both. Like, I have a 3DS and a Wii U, so they sold to me twice. If they only had one device, they'd only sell to me once. On the other hand, if they're selling the device at a loss anyway, it's probably better if they only sell it once. So, maybe that is what they'll do. The other reason that kind of bothers me is that you can see this when you look at 3DS games. Nintendo designs their portable games differently. They're shorter. They're more oriented around kind of episodic content. So it's like Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube is this kind of adventure that just sort of goes on for a certain length, you know? On the 3DS, Luigi's Mansion is all these little 10-minute missions, and you do not get to just explore the whole house or whatever. You're in the section of the house that is needed for this mission, more or less. So, you know, I don't like that as much. Or look at, like, Paper Mario. Same thing happened. Like, Paper Mario Sticker Star is all broken into, like, missions and stuff. So, I don't like that as much, and I would be concerned that we would forever lose the more sprawling games that Nintendo is capable of making. Although, I have to admit, they're not really making those games either right now. So, maybe that's just what's inevitably going to happen. I also wonder about it from like a controller kind of perspective, right? Because like a handheld, the controls are on the machine. But if it's plugged into my TV, do I have to sit that close to the TV? Or is there like a wireless controller that connects to my handheld? It's like a separate device I have to have? I don't know how that actually works. So there's some issues with that. You know, to me, what I guess I would like to see, but which I'm not sure that I will see, and I'm not sure that it would actually be the best move for Nintendo from like a profitability standpoint. But what I'd like to see them do is really focus on making a top-tier piece of hardware to follow up the Wii U with. So, if the Wii U is a little is underpowered compared to the PS4, the next one that they make needs to be as powerful as what might come after the PS4. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to see Nintendo just put it all on the table, so to speak. Make the absolute best piece of hardware they can. Don't abandon the idea that you're going to have innovative gameplay mechanics, but don't skimp on the power either. Super powerful, super innovative, just wow everybody, and go ahead and charge a fortune for it, which they'll have to do. But, so $500 Nintendo console that's, as powerful as a PS5 or something. But, when I say that, I think to myself, this sounds familiar. Because a lot of people say the Wii U is like another Dreamcast. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's more like another Sega Saturn. The Saturn failed, essentially. It had a short life cycle. Sega's response to that was to focus on making the best follow-up system they possibly could. They put everything into it. It had to succeed. And that was the Dreamcast. And when it struggled out of the gate, they had nothing left to support it for even 18 months. And they had to just abandon it. And I feel like Nintendo might be setting themselves up to be in a similar position if their follow-up to the Wii U is this like super console that must succeed. And I asked myself, is there anything that would make you think it might fare better than the Dreamcast? Under these similar circumstances. And the only thing I can think is, well, maybe if it came out in like the middle of the PS4, Xbox One life cycle, maybe that would work, right? Because the PS4, Xbox One, they're going to have like 7-year, 8-year life cycles, right? And the problem right now is that Nintendo is behind them. So Nintendo makes a Wii U, it comes out like a year before the PS4 comes out, and it's as powerful as a PS3. But if the PS4 has a 7-year life cycle, then 4 years into the Wii U's life cycle, if they release a system that's more powerful than a PS4, that means that there are now 4 years in which Nintendo might have the most powerful hardware. And when Sony is finally ready to make a PS5, if they even do that at all, Nintendo might have flipped the script on them, right? It might seem like, well, yeah, I could get the PS5 this year, but you know what? In 12 months, the new Nintendo system might come out, and it's going to be even better, And that would be different than what happened to the Dreamcast, because the Dreamcast came out, and everybody knew in 12 months the PS2 is going to come out, and why don't I just wait for a PS2? Is what the average consumer thought. People like me bought a Dreamcast, but Anyway, I don't know, guys. I would like to, I guess I just feel like I don't want to see Nintendo limp along, handicapped, making inferior products, trying to keep it going, and just sort of, like I say, limping along for, 10, 15, 20 years before finally giving it up. I don't want to see that. I would rather see them just go out in a blaze of glory. All the cards on the table, either they kill it, and they reclaim the throne that they, long ago held, or they go out, but with this kind of quality product that everyone, will appreciate for what it was. Much like what happened with the Dreamcast, here you go. 10, 15 years after the Dreamcast, everybody who bought one points fingers at other people and acts superior about it. And that's what could happen with the new Nintendo system. But anyway, at any rate, definitely though, big changes are in the cards, and that Iwata has said as much, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Interesting to see, maybe we'll start getting a hint about maybe some software shakeups with some Nintendo Directs, And next E3 in, another like 6 months is going to be really big. Very, very important. So I'll be very interested to see what happens with that. And, very interested to see the Wii U Zelda game. Has the potential, if it's the right sort of game, to maybe attract a lot of positive attention. And don't forget about X. That's the other game we know is coming out at some point that looks really cool. And that's not speculative. But if they add on to that a bunch of these other things like I was talking about, they could start attracting some positive attention with just their first-party games. And a new IP or something could be good, too. But in the long run, I think there's no getting around the fact that the Wii U is probably not going to be a big success, and Nintendo is going to have to shake things up somehow with whatever they do next. And so this may turn out to be like the last traditional game console from Nintendo. After all, isn't that explicitly what Iwata said? We must be skeptical about whether we can continue to make consoles at this $300 price point. What does that mean? I don't know. But